Alrighty, how are you all doing today? Should be live now. Hope you're all having a good weekend. A few of you in the chat already. Gonna try and make some more progress on this guy. Oh yeah, sorry. A few ads to start. I don't really know the best way to run ads on this. The way it's set up now is like we get a ton at the start before I actually start, and then we get nothing for an hour. So it seems like a decent way to do it, but I don't know. At some stage, I'll have to look into if there's better ways of doing it. How you doing, Sean? How you doing, Dom and Jimmy, Omegon Edge? How you guys going? So I don't know what how much we'll get through tonight. I think what we're going to try and do is a bit more work on the hair. We'll try and get this ear done, and maybe Horror of Horrors we'll even get to doing some of this green. If all goes well. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, hope some of you guys are painting along at home, possibly. See how we go. Fiending for the update on how many sold of Spira. Yeah, absolutely. I need to know. Who's got the guesses? Let's get the guesses going in the chat. I reckon it'll be above 1,000. How are you, Dom? Are we in focus? Sorry, I probably should have worked more of this out before starting as usual, but it is what it is. Alright, there we go. So I think we'll, as always, try and warm up a little bit. I don't know, do you guys get the same thing where, like, you know, at the start of like sitting down for a painting session, you kind of have to do like simple stuff to get yourself in the swing? Like I just made a absolute terrible move on the model to start things out. 1037. Oh, was it? There you go. Didn't get the go ahead to buy another model, unfortunately, Dom. I just bought it anyway. And you know, I have no idea how long it will sit unpainted for. Probably quite a while, but that's okay. But I will be doing Spira immediately. Well, tomorrow, pretty much. It's my current off-stream project. 1127. Good guesses, good guesses. Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't realize that was a guess. It sounded legit, Sean. So there we go. Can we see what we're doing okay? Maybe grab it from spec. Yeah, I guess that's the nice thing about Jado. If you decide you want it later, you don't have to pay too much more. Can already feel myself making some silly moves on this thing. Sorry, just adjusting the light a little bit. Okay. So how are we liking the look of the model? Dungeon Friends hasn't gone up. Ruined our sweepstakes guessing on the price. True. It's really hard to know what he would sell it for. Like, what would you have to sell it for if you're Jettoed him to make it worth reselling? Thanks, Dom. I appreciate it. Try to assess him every once in a while. I think he is actually turning out sort of a little better than I thought it would early on. So I'm pretty happy with how it's going. Okay. Let's try and get this up and running properly. So the hair was the thing that was giving me a bit of grief last time. So that's the main aim for today, I think, is to try and get most of the the light side of this hair looking pretty good. But again, as always, we'll see how we go. I really, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I genuinely do need like a good sort of, I don't know, 15-20 minutes whenever I sit down at the painting table of just kind of like doodling around until I kind of work out what I'm doing. You know what, maybe I'm going to do these ears actually, because I think about 300 Seamus Dungeon Friends in Australian dollars, something like that, from memory. Is that right? Let's start doing these things. I ended up buying two because I feel like I've gone too far in the madness fear of like missing out on a model that for some reason I want a second one. 350, 400. I reckon it'd be more, but yeah, who knows. But it doesn't seem unreasonable. I feel like I've seen a Dungeon Friends on eBay for like $450 already or something. Which just seems a bit crazy. What are we talking about? Hey, Peapot. We're talking about the Spira, the new orc. That just finished being available to order today. And we're trying to paint our elf at the same time. Although so far it's not been a great start to the actual painting portion of this painting stream. Yeah, there you go. A bit, they do get a bit silly, don't they? I've seen a few people who have started painting, and I'm very excited to see what people do with those Dungeon Friends, to be honest. I think it's going to be a fun one. Lots of interesting versions will pop out. I reckon we'll probably see a few versions that are like maybe like some mixed scale projects or conversions or whatever. I don't know. We always do with Spiras. Where they're all in a circle. Yeah, it is, Dom. The one where they're all in a circle, like the 5 dungeon adventurers. You know, one looks like a hobbit and a dwarf and an elf and a barbarian and a wizard. Yeah, $290 then plus the shipping and stuff. Hey, would have added at least a little bit. He's got very cavernous ear holes, this guy. Kind of awkward to get your brush into. Sorry if I'm covering up the model, but you know, it's hard to get into the ear caves, you know. They're deep. Ooh. I think this might have a bit of a little mold line. I haven't chopped off 1 second, guys. There we go, that's good preparation. Do some of this shadow side here as well. Got a serious problem. The lid on my chocolate milk keeps rotating, so I can't get it open. Use a gun, Jesus. It's like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer gets a gun and uses it to shoot open his beer cans. But that's not very Australian, you know. We don't have a lot of guns here. Probably a touch too bright on this side. How you doing, Oliver? All right. We were just talking about the Spira Orc before. So I'd be keen to see what you do with yours when you finally get it, which is to say, if you ever decide to paint it as well. Don't know why I'm giving you shit on that though. I can't really talk about not painting stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have no idea when I would do mine either. I don't think of the mercenary Spira ones that I've got. I don't think the Orc would be the first one I'd paint, to be honest. But actually, I don't know. Maybe. So as you can see, we're still in the doodling around, warming up phase of painting today, it seems. I'm not really actually doing very much, am I? Maybe I need to start like painting for 20 minutes before I start the stream, just so that like I'm in the swing of it by the time the stream actually starts. Anyone else painting at the moment? What are you guys working on right now. Have you I didn't ask today, but did you take another day off, Seamus? Is it too hot in Melbourne again to paint? Man, genuinely these ear holes are like insane. They're just really quite awkward to reach with a brush. Too hot? Painting orange space dogs, nice. You still working on your Ed ScoMo little vignette, I assume, Dom? I would assume that's what the space dogs are from, perhaps. Yeah, waiting for the first round of feedback from your mentor, who says, make it more saturated, I assume, not make it more Saturday. Who are you hitting up for feedback, Dom? Are you talking to one of the locals or chatting to one of the numerous painting experts online? Got the moonlight firelight on the Undertaker lighting to a stage I'm happy with earlier, so I threw it into feedback. Oh, I'll have a look at it, Sean, at some stage. That's cool. I thought he was looking pretty good. Like I don't normally see you do that kind of like, lighting effect on your models. So cool to see you trying something new. Heading off. Fair enough. I need to catch up on Severance actually as well, Jordan. I haven't watched any of the new season, and I think I'll rewatch the first season before I start the new one. You do with Banshee, do you, Dom? That's cool. How's that? That must be pretty fun. I saw you gave some interview recently where he talked about painting judging. I really need to go and watch that. He always has something interesting to say, I think. Banshee. Yeah, Jordan, never heard of him? Yeah, of course. That is exactly right. Doesn't mince words. Is he like the most outspoken miniature painting guy? Probably, right? Have you found it's helped you progress a lot? Chatting to Banshee, getting feedback from him and stuff? Surely. One would assume so. Just let me know if you guys can't see anything or if anything's dropping out of focus. As always, I think I try to strike some kind of balance between like making things visible for you guys and being in like a comfortable painting position, but if I drift like way too egregiously to a point where you can't see anything, just let me know. It's a special sort of course that I'm doing in conjunction with about 14 others, so you get to see all the feedback from everyone every month. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, cool. That'd be that'd certainly be interesting. That's one of the things that like is so tough about us being in Australia, right? I've mentioned before on the stream, like we're so removed from painters, so the opportunity to do like all these classes and everything's, really fairly limited. We don't have too many, hopefully we'll have some more coming. Like Jordan's going to be doing his class sometime, I think, this year, which will be really good. And I can tell you, having learned a lot from him, you'll learn a lot from him if you do that class when he finally gets around to running it. But yeah, Banshee would be a super interesting one. I think at one point they were trying to see if he could come out here, but it didn't quite work out or something. I don't know. He's been here before, I think, to Australia. I don't know. It's all like maybe a bit before my time in this kind of display painting scene. Sebastian Archer bust exclusive included. Exactly. We're all keen as for it, Jordan. Absolutely. Obviously, the cost is going to be in a run in Brisbane because that's where all the good painters are. Yep, of course. Did you go to the Brisbane Anvil, Dom? You did, didn't you? I'm sure I saw you post photos from it. I think you were like one of the only people posting photos. Whenever like there's a competition that's run anywhere that I'm at least partially aware of, that I'm not able to go to, like I'm always scouring Instagram for way too long trying to find pictures from the event. Name 3. Look, the real question, because look, let's be real, we all know Brisbane is not as good as Sydney or Melbourne, but what's better between Melbourne and Sydney? Which has the greater share of better painters? Sorry, Brisbane, you're just not in the conversation. That kind of course is always a blast. You learn a ton, and it's great being able to see how everyone interprets the same piece. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Dom. Are you guys, in your Banshee course, are you painting the same model like as everyone else? Or is it like you guys are working on a specific project out of over however many weeks and just getting feedback? Or yeah, is it all on the same, like a group model or something? Getting some little dusty flakes in my paint, unfortunately. A bit annoying. Individual projects, yeah, fair enough. Look, I'm making I'll be the neutral arbiter. Not really neutral. I think Sydney obviously the best. Let's get a little bit of some kind of highlight up in here, I think. It's called The Journey, Sydney all the way. No beers on tap. That's true. Just free drinks, but not alcoholic drinks. So I don't know. Maybe we can lobby JC to install a bar at PRM. He definitely doesn't do enough for us, does he? Really letting the team down. Can't buy Warhammer or paints. Come on, son. That is true. Maybe that'll be another thing we can... Although, actually, you know, we can't buy paints or Warhammer at the meetups, but Juddo comes to the meetups and he will hand deliver us our spec mod purchases at the Sydney Guild meetups. So, you know, that's a nice bonus. Service with a smile, you know. So a little slow going on this ear. It's kind of, you know, lots of strange shapes, and I wouldn't mind this this ear being done, you know, fully. All right, catch you later, Jordan. Thanks for joining. Talk to you again soon, I'm sure. But yeah, this ear, you know, I wouldn't mind having it proper finished by the end of the session. I mean, you know, finished-ish, I guess. It's got a little chunk missing, doesn't it? I don't know, I think that'll fill in as I paint it. And it's not super noticeable. Not like the one chunk on the other side that needed proper shaving. Yep, that is the charity of Juddo. Yeah, very awkward shape. I think it is kind of starting to look alright, isn't it though? Could always go with the someone bit it off root mandible. That's exactly right. That is true. Someone bit a chunk out of the ear, but it's such a little chunk. Can you guys see it particularly well just here? Like, you can kind of see it. Just there. Not huge. Not I don't know if I can be bothered shaving it back. Not that big a deal. If it was for a competition or something, maybe. But for our casual little streamer bust guy, nah. Maybe we won't worry. Strip it, sculpt it, and fix it. Yeah, strip the whole model. You reckon? That could be the way to go. Really trying to get, like, you know, a lot of red in this ear, but I feel like every time I do, I'm kind of, I don't know, it's not quite turning out how I want it to be. But we will trust that by the end it will look good. Again, like, I don't know, can you guys tell like how awkward these giant ear holes are? Like, they're so huge. They're just the worst. Let's get maybe not that much. A bit more reddish, sort of mid-tony skin color here. Like Jeff's forehead. Olipop, thanks for following. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing this fine Sunday night? Hopefully well. Alright. Let's see. I think, you know, we would get a decent amount of light in there because it would be really red, you know. The light's bouncing around, getting more and more saturated in between the folds of skin. Thanks very much. Appreciate the comment, Olipop. We're just in a bit of an awkward stage at the moment where the progress has kind of grinded to a little bit of a halt while I try and work out what I'm doing. That's okay. So you've really come in at the most action-packed moment of the painting process, unfortunately. Sorry, I know I'm fully covering the ear where I'm painting, but again, I'll show you guys in a little bit once it's, you know, looking okay. The giant ear hole stage, exactly. Genuinely though, man, it's like, I feel like you could fit a full knuckle in there or something. If he was like picking his ears, he would be like all the way halfway to his brain, you know? What do you think? I don't know. The hole's too dark. But it's just, yeah, an awkward spot to get colour into because you don't want to get colour across the whole thing, right? Like if our light's up here, right? This is kind of the direction our light's coming from. Then like this whole, you know, bottom part of the hole, the whole bottom part of the hole would be not in shadow, it'd be in light, right? So yeah, it's just an awkward spot. It's a little better. Still not good. Many would say, don't worry about the ear hole. It's hardly like the most important detail. Just do something, move on. But I've always found, like, you know, if there's a part of the model, I mean, look, it depends on the mood you're in, but it's a part of the model that's giving you grief. Like, instead of avoiding it, just spend even more time on it, because it's the only way you'll work out how to do it. That's why I've been spending so much time painting like skin tones the past however many months. So I was really bad at them for a very long time. I feel like I'm pretty good now, or at least getting better, you know. Yeah, exactly. Clears them out with a soup ladle. Looking at my reference photo, and there is a pretty strong highlight, like on the entrance to the ear hole, like with the way I've lit it, and definitely would catch a fair bit of light, I think. Same with, I think there's probably a bit of a, let's try and just block it in. Bit of a line like here, just where the shadow, before the shadow starts on the top of this ear. Sort of in this weird little half a treble clef shape. I don't know how to describe it. There we go. That's looking a bit better, right? A little bit too bright on the highlight, but we turn it down, blend it in. The thing about these ear shapes is, like, you know, can't exactly get like an accurate reference for a elf ear, you know, on a person, can you? Because no one has ears that are this shape. And I found, like, being something of an elf connoisseur, a lot of the time the way people sculpt these folds in the elf ears, like, can be really different. Some of them, I think this one's quite good actually, like it's nice, and I like the way they've done it. It's just that the ear holes are so deep, like the main hole. But the rest of it is quite nice, like the sort of waves and folds or whatever they'd be called. They look quite realistic to my eyes. So yeah, pretty good, pretty cool, I think. Very good model. I really like this model a lot. You know, all these Mindworks models are so good. They really nail it a lot of the time. I think it's because they work with, like, such good. A lot of them are based off of, like, real artworks, and like, well, real artworks, like as in artworks from traditional artists, right? Like, they're replicating traditional artists. So like, the anatomy is usually really quite good and interesting. It's not too over the top, you know. So obviously there's exceptions to that, like there is with any manufacturer of fantasy models. Some of them get a bit over the top with their proportions, but I think Mindworks are really good. They make a lot of really good faces on their models. If you want to practice painting, like, skin tones, a very good brand to look at, Mindworks. They got lots of busts like this that are not particularly big, you know, not huge projects that would take a ton of time. And, you know, like this one, the whole idea with this is basically just have a good looking face by the end. The cloth is not going to be a major detail. I'll spend time on it and try and make it look good, but the main reason I'm doing this is to keep practicing skin tones. Just taking some pretty close to pure red and shoving it into this upper fold of the ear. Like, you know, ears tend to be pretty red. You can maybe see on my ear. It's hard with this one. You know, around the inside of the folds, they get super, super red. then we just tidy up anywhere that it was a bit messy. But keep the skin tone nice and warm with the ears, always warmer than normal. He's got quite a warm skin tone anyway, so you know, don't want to go overboard obviously. Make the ears like so bright and loud that they distract you from his face, but you know, another thing that can pull focus to the face is using lots of red in the ears. I can already kind of tell this will be a painting session where like the before and after photo is not going to look that different. But that's okay. I think like I have a few little things in mind where like as long as I get to them and I see them have a noticeable difference, I'll be happy with what I've done in the session, you know. Getting there. Sorry, I dropped out of focus a little bit. Very warm orangey colour in the ear. Hopefully not overpowering the face. I worry that little ear hole is still a bit too dark. The thing is, I know I keep banging on about it, but it looks awkward, you know, if it's too dark, if it's just like this big patch of shadow like right in the middle of his face where there shouldn't be shadow, like it's going to be noticeable and it will make the model look worse. So try and get it right before we move on. Sculpt some AirPods and stick him in there. You know what? That would be a great idea. But a bit too late for that. I don't know if I'd trust my sculpting skills as well, to be totally honest. Sorry if I'm drifting over the palette and it's a bit too dark. My bad. Hopefully you guys can still see what's going on down there with the colours. Stick him next to a disco wizard. Yeah, like Jared's DJ Wiz. JC's. Give him a little friend to hang out with. Better not take it to Crimson then. starting to feel like I need to get my eyes tested or something. It's nothing like that's not in focus, but sometimes I find it hard to keep focusing, you know, at short distance. Like it's more of wear on my eyes than it used to be. Maybe I'm getting old. I've never had them tested. Maybe I should. Eye strain, exactly. I guess it's kind of inevitable when you do this like for long hours every day, right? So just trying to give it a just look closer. That'll fix it, right? You're definitely now a user of the old eye goggles. Problem with eye goggles, and admittedly I've only ever tried one pair and hated it, so maybe I need to buy another pair that's good, is that you don't hold the model way too close to your face, and I don't like that. I want to be able to be like quite a comfortable distance, like maybe 30 centimeters away from the model, and not feel like I have to just like hold him so close to my face, you know. And like I said, admittedly, it might just be a matter of finding the right eye goggles or something. I don't know. Let's get some of this. Went to an optometrist and got proper magnifying glasses made for that exact reason. Huh. So what does that do? Does that just like, you know, make everything everywhere appear closer rather than only in a particular focal range? I don't really know how it works, to be honest. But that sounds like it could be a thing to do. Yeah, they're basically like reading glasses on steroids a bit. But it means I can just hold the model at a normal distance and paint comfortably. Okay, that sounds good. So what are they just called magnifying glasses? Maybe I'll have to look into that. That could be a good idea. You went to a optometrist for that, did you? That's cool. I only ever see people use the crazy headgear, you know? And I mean, again, it might just be ones that I've tried, but I've never tried one and thought, yeah, this definitely makes the experience of painting easier rather than harder. Like, you know what I mean? I have not had that experience before. My eyes have definitely gotten worse since I got into painting. Don't know if it's a coincidence or too much strain. Like, I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine that. And look, I'm not a eye science guy, but I can't imagine that just looking at stuff close like it makes your eyes worse. I don't know. Does it? Is that a thing? Like, I get it is fatiguing, for sure. Took a model with me, I said, look, I do this, you fix. Fair enough. So, you went full technical mode, hey? Yeah, that could be a good idea. Look, I think I'm going to actually look into it. For sure. Alright, how are we doing for time? I reckon about a few minutes actually. I'll have to take a bit of a break. Twitch will make me run an ad. I'll get up and walk around for a few minutes and then we'll get back to it. Maybe we should private health rip-off or something. Exactly. That is absolutely true. So let's say in about 2 minutes or so, I'll take a break for a few, and then we'll get back to it. I'll let you guys know in a sec. Let's try and a few more little ear highlights. I always like to. The time got away from me. I usually keep a better eye on the clock, but I always like to go into a break feeling like I've accomplished something. Which, you know, can't say I'm really feeling right now. Your reminder, if you're painting at home along with us, you gotta stand up and not hunch over for too long, right? Stand up, walk around, get a few steps in. Make sure we're not going to come to an end of our life of painting being full on insane hunchbacks. You've stopped looking at the ear hole. Fair enough. Well, that's good. I mean, yeah, look, it's a pretty... The ear hole's a small thing, but you know, when there's something like that that's annoying you, it's always better to spend the time and fix it. Even if, like, you know, there are other people who can't really see it super well or whatever. You know, it's always worth spending the time. If there's a problem you can see, trust that others can see it too. Sometimes, you know, with a you know, not to an insane, ridiculous degree, but yeah, sometimes. Fine line. Alright. Just a couple more dots. Oh, jeez. And then let's take a break. I don't know. I'll come back and fix it some more. Look, you know, the ear is looking better, I guess. Yeah? I don't know. Alright guys, taking a break. We'll be back before 9:30. So a few minutes. Be right back. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. We're back. Hello. Alright. Should look at the model instead of my screen, shouldn't I? That is something I feel like I've not done a very good job of sometimes. I keep looking at the bloody screen instead of looking at my model in front of me. We have a good break. Did we all get up, move around, go to the toilet, etc., etc.? I hope so. We want to be happy, healthy painters, don't we, folks? Kept playing Rivals. Alright, well, you don't count, Seamus. Unhappy, unhealthy. Is Rivals good? I haven't played it. Everyone's playing it. That's the thing, isn't it? That everyone's playing. You said. You gotta move around. You gotta listen if the Apple Watch tells you to stand up, I guess. What is happening? I think we're looking okay now, guys. I think we're looking okay. Not perfect. Fair enough. Close the rings already. Well, that's good. How are you going with Monster Hunter, Seamus? Asks Sean. Good, bad? Hunting monsters? It's a little dot of shadow in the wrong spot on his face. So I'm going to fix that up as well. And then maybe we can move on to something else. Precarious. Very precarious. No, that looks good. I think we're looking alright. Like, nothing too out of whack, nothing too awkward. Eyebrows will need fixing, I think. They're not quite right. They also don't quite match. I think I like that there's kind of, can you guys see on him? He kind of almost has this eyebrow here raised up, which is good because we've got the light coming from here. It almost looks like he's sort of frowning into the light with this eye a bit more than the other one. So we'll probably try and accentuate that a little more by maybe bringing this left eyebrow up a little bit more. And then maybe we'll even try and deepen this crease here, just so that the frown is a little more accentuated. Like, you know, he's furrowed his brow more on this right side. You know, his right, our left, more than he has on the other side, you know. I think we need a really dark red black. A little bit. Sorry, I know whenever I'm loading up the brush on the palette, the model drifts out of shot, but sorry guys. You just have to deal with it. Alright, does that kind of make sense? Maybe it's a little too strong on one side now, so we'll just fix it up on the other side. Bit too much black in the mix. Again, we do want like a, you know, like this. I'm not good at it. One eyebrow more than the other, you know? I don't know. I don't think I'm doing a good job of it. Yeah. Scrunched up nose. Like if you really... Oh, that's too much. If you really accentuate some of these lines on his face, like, can give him a bit more personality, but I just did it too much, so Let's tone back that bridge of the nose. We went a bit overboard. That's okay, that's okay. Oh God, Jesus. Making a bunch of mistakes today. But again, that's alright. We don't panic. When we make a mistake, we just fix it up. No, and actually, it didn't even end up particularly visible. I think, I don't know if this hits with you guys, but one of the things I really try to avoid is, I remember early on when I was just sort of doing more like mindful painting of skin tones, was I would get like, always get the face to a point where like you start getting afraid to do anything to it because you're worried you're going to ruin it. And that's something I try to avoid now in painting. Like I never want to feel like if I didn't just like take the wrong color and just slash it across his face, that I would be like devastated and I wouldn't be able to fix it or get it back to that point. You don't want to have something look good on accident to a point where you then start worrying about fixing a mistake, you know what I mean? Let's not abuse our mod privileges in the chat there, guys. Alright. And if anyone listening to this is new to the stream, I've mentioned a few times that I'm going to put the VODs of all the stream. This entire model has been painted on stream, so I'll put all the VODs of previous times I've painted him on YouTube. I've said that a few times. I'll actually do it this week, so it will be coming soon if you ever want to go back and watch some old clips to see exactly how it was all done. So just strengthening again some of these crevices and creases in his eyes and face. I don't know if this is particularly informative or if it's just more like, hey, we're having fun hanging out and painting. Either way, I'm glad you guys are here with us on the stream. Alright. Now let's try fix up this hairline a little bit. It's a little bit wonky, isn't it? What's going on? It's always informative watching someone else's creative process live, and you've got the ability to keep talking about. Well, that's good. I'm glad you are enjoying it, Dom. I appreciate that. I can never get enough of talking about painting, actually. So it's probably actually doing this takes probably some strain off of some of the group chats and stuff where I'm just like constantly trying to talk about miniature painting. So I can just talk to you guys instead, or really I feel like a lot of the time it's just talking to myself, and every so often people will chime in. Huh. Rude. Oh my god. Come on, mate. Gab on. Let's not throw around such aggressive terms. What's going on here? This painter's gone all funky. Get this little bit here looking good. Up the top of his big giant forehead. He does have a huge forehead, like proportionally, doesn't he? Jesus. What's going on? Ivalis Pirate subscribed for 1 month at tier 1. Thank you very much. I appreciate the subscription. What a legend. Really do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. I hope you're enjoying watching this ramble and paint video. Alright, only so much orange I can take. Thanks for the stream. Appreciate it. You're heading off, Dom. No worries. Thank you very much for joining, Dom. And I'm sure I will catch you at some stage in the future. Sean, I am still using the same palette from the first stream, but I have just reloaded with some fresh paint over the top. The paint isn't exactly dry, but it's like it will reactivate when you mix in some water or whatever, or a wet brush. But it is the same palette. What I will tend to do is, as long as the if I'm doing lots of mixes, even if most of the paint is like so dry that it's mostly unusable, which to be honest it mostly was unusable, but I just got new paint out of the pots, put it over the top, and then I've got the mixes there so I can kind of mix on top of them and match the colors. So yeah, it is definitely the same palette, even though a lot of it is fresher paint. I've been trying to like let go of the idea of like, properly matching color mixes, like a lot of people have asked me, like, I don't know why I said it like that, but I have been asked, like, or maybe it's not even that I've been asked, I'm just assuming I was asked. Maybe I have been, I don't know. But what I'm getting at is, I used to think a lot about how, like, if you're doing a lot of paint mixing rather than just using paints out of the pot, how are you going to match the colors between sessions? Obviously, we got the wet palette, so we are able to use our mixes for more than one session. But I've been trying to, just move on from the idea of like having to match them exactly. It doesn't really matter. As long as you're using the same like initial colors and you're putting them on the palette and then mixing, it's going to be close enough. And even if it's not exactly the same, that'll just add some complexity to the painting. So I try not to worry about having to exactly match any color mixes in between sessions. Sometimes it can be like a bit annoying, but I feel like I've been getting better at mixing my colors. Like, I mean, obviously for the longest time, like most people who get into miniature painting through wargaming, like I got into this through Warhammer. And so, it was like you would use 70 different paints on a model. And there's nothing wrong with people who paint that way. It's a really simple way to do it, and you end up getting your mix is really accurate, especially when you're doing like army painting. It's kind of the best way to do things because you don't want to have to bum around with like mixing a bunch of stuff on the palette. But for a model like this, where the painting is like more quote unquote artistic or whatever, I try to worry a little less about matching a mix exactly, because like I said, it will just sort of add some color complexity. It'll all be harmonious because we're using the same paints on the palette, so nothing should look out of place. And it's not a huge palette. I've got like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 colors here altogether, 14 different paints, and like 2 of them, the blue and the gray, I've basically not used at all. And of the 14, I reckon I could probably cut 5 of them and still be able to do the same stuff. So you do use some paints just for convenience. I mean, I think with these kinds of models, it will help you get better with your color theory knowledge, and it'll also just add some complexity to the model. Acrylic Viking. I've been painting with 4 to 5 paints on the palette for years now, depending on what I'm trying to do. Yeah, there you go. Like, I mean, look, like I think it really is a thing in like miniature painting where people will use like 1 billion paints on a project. You know, there's like not really any other. There's not really many other forms of painting where they use that many different paints. Like you look at most traditional artists, they're using like 12 colors, you know, and that's a lot. Most, you know, there's plenty who will be doing like what Acrylic Viking has said and used like 4 or 5 paints on the palette, and that's it. That being said, talking to, you know, some better painters than me and learning from them, they will tell you that doing things like getting the super smooth blends and stuff like that can sometimes be easier when you are using paints out of the pot, you know. Just because, you know, you can really easily set up your value jumps, you know, if you're trying to blend something, and then it's just like it's an exercise in patience, right, rather than anything else. You've just got your colors strung out, and that being said, you can still do that mixing colors on a palette, but I think there is like a convenience element to having multiple colors. And that being said, like a lot of this, part of this model is me testing out like colors. So I got these like AK skin tones. Normally I wouldn't use this many different skin colors. Normally I would just have one skin color, or I would mix the local color of the skin and just go from there. But I wanted to try more of these pots of paint out just because I want to see if it actually makes it easier for me. Pretty much every model I've painted over the past sort of maybe 8 months or so has been like 15 paints would be the max that I would use on the whole project. And I'm sort of entering a little bit of a period where I'd like to go back, kind of swing back the other way to using a few more paints and seeing if that actually is more helpful to me or less helpful to me, because I've been doing it so long the other way. So, you know, we go back and forth. But all that is in answer to your question of yes, it is the same palette as last time. Maybe a slightly more detailed answer, but that's good. But I did want to get another stream in today because I will be resetting the palette tomorrow when I start work on another model, like my next sort of bigger project that I'll start painting tomorrow. And this guy will stay as a stream project, obviously, but I gotta have things to paint in between that, in between the streams, you know. Can't just only have this guy going. We'll see. Maybe I'll wake up tomorrow and want to do one more stream before I have to tear down the palette and make a new one. Maybe not, though. I do find managing the wet palette actually quite annoying. You know, I don't know what it is. Maybe there are people out there who have managed the best way of like balancing, keeping the palette wet over multiple days and stuff. I really find that I can get 2 days, 3 at most, out of the palette, and then I have to completely reset. I usually can't get more than that. What was the last stream? Was Friday, I think. So didn't do anything with it on Saturday, and then today, last day, I would probably want to paint on it. Maybe I could get into tomorrow. But yeah, if there is anyone watching that has any questions about any part of this painting or painting process, do feel free to drop them in, regardless of what they are. I'm always pretty happy to go off on a rant and about something. Like I said, I don't really need a huge excuse to want to talk a lot about painting. It's been a obsessive the past past year. How much my time, I guess, has been dedicated to it or whatever. I want to move away from using lots of pots and pre-mixed skin as well as stressing on some of the same mixes for a model. So interesting to hear. Okay, that's good. That's good to hear, Sean. Yeah, but like I said, you know, pros and cons of both. You can see plenty of painters that will use a lot of different pots rather than a lot of different mixes and do incredible stuff. So the reason I'm sort of, you know, swinging back the other way at the moment into using maybe a few more pots of paint or a few more different colors than I normally would, is just I want it all. Like I want all the tools in the toolbox, you know. You want to be able to make like the informed choices, I guess, about what to use when you tackle a project, hey? And you know, the main reason I switched to using less colors was I wasn't confident with color mixes. I was painting models that didn't really have color schemes that harmonized well, and you know, you would worry too much about if I pick this color, will it clash with the other colors? And that can't really happen when you're mixing every color out of, you know, out of a small range of paints, a more limited range of paints. Vince Venturella has just done 2 YouTubes on painting skin from red, blue, and yellow. Yeah, I think I saw the thumbnails, but I haven't watched the videos. Time Stop BB, were they good? I assume so. He's got like a lot of good like technical videos, right? Like he's like a scientist with those glasses. So like a lot of those like kind of like product reviews, he's good for all that stuff, hey? Like he's really good for all that stuff. But I haven't watched that one, admittedly. So I did a CMYK for skin is interesting too. Yes, I've never painted something with a cyan, magenta, yellow palette. But one of the things I did when I did a workshop with Jordan was I did like a Zorn palette mix to make skin tones, and that was pretty interesting, you know. Which is what, just like red, yellow oxide, black and white. And I was actually doing that for a really long time. Well, a really long time. I was doing that for a few months, just using the red, yellow oxide and white and black. But I ended up switching to using one pre-mixed flesh tone, and that would be like the local color for the whole model, and then I would just mix off of that one skin tone, and that was just a time-saving thing. I've Alice Pirate. I liked him, helped me with painting darker skin tones. That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to give it a check out at least, just to watch it. To be totally honest, I don't actually watch a ton of painting videos these days. I think the only ones I really will watch is I try to tune into Eric Swinson's stream when I can, and I'll watch the replays of it if I miss it live, which more often than not I will. And I'll watch the Patreon videos from Cult of Paint from Andy Waddle. And Andy Waddle seems to be someone who does a lot of pre-mixed pots. Like, he doesn't seem to do a ton of color mixing, to be totally honest. He does a fair bit, but he doesn't seem to do a heap. And you know, I don't think any of us could say he's not doing some pretty magnificent stuff, right? So, you know, you can get great results regardless. Eric Swinson seems to use quite a few different pots of paint, but he also still mixes a fair bit. So I guess, you know, there's there's in-betweens of all of it, right? Having the big paint collection is cool, but it doesn't help when I stress on color schemes. I'd love to learn to just use the chimeras to mix up my own stuff. Chimeras are great. I mean, the Vi and the Mama Noma model I painted were basically all chimera and heavy body scale 75. I don't think I used anything except for that on either of those models. On Noma, definitely I didn't. But on the Vi, I used a couple of GW paints. I have quite a big paint collection. Like, I've got tons of paints, like way more than I would need to have. I'm like one of those people who definitely, like, you know, will on a whim buy like a shitload of paint, and probably only use like a pretty small percentage of them, to be honest. But I like to have them. Like, I like to just have them if I need them, but that's kind of been less relevant with the kind of painting I've been doing lately, I guess. So definitely don't need to go out and spend a heap of money. I will also say that talking to Dave Colwell, he's told me like I should use Chimera less, because Chimera, it can be easy to build up texture in the skin tone, which I did even a little bit on this guy when I was doing the sketch with Chimera paint. So the first video of painting this guy, I sketched out the colors, and that was pretty much all with Chimera. And it's quite easy to build up like a paint, you know, grain in the paint, chalkiness, whatever you want to call it, like, you know, sandpapery looking texture, which is obviously not ideal. And Dave's sort of recommendation to me was, you know, try to use some other paints because they'll be smoother and they're a bit easier to work with than the Chimeras. You don't have to manage them quite as well. And yeah, exactly, like Pokemon, you got to collect them all. I guess if you're like someone like Vince, where, you know, I assume he gets sent a ton of those paints rather than having to buy them. That must be awesome, right? Like having so many paints and just like having everything to choose from. I mean, I'm sure he still has bought his fair share of paints. I shouldn't say that. But I mean, I've had to buy them all. At least, you know, when I worked for Games Workshop, I could get all the Games Workshop ones cheap. So, you know, it could be much worse. But I just bought a bunch of AK ones, and, you know, they were not cheap. And I bought, when I bought all the Chimera ones and stuff, and the Scale 75 ones, you know, you just got to buy them and get the use out of them. I was just talking to Seamus earlier today about maybe some slightly over the top spending on hobby purchases that I've done over the past, you know, not that long an amount of time. And yeah, paints definitely are an expense we really don't actually need to make that much on. Bus can definitely be expensive, that is absolutely true, but, you know, because we work on them, I don't know, maybe you guys don't paint them for quite so long, but I feel like, you know, there are very few things in this hobby, like, not we're not talking about tabletop painting now, but like this kind of hobby, right, where it's busts and, like, I don't know what you call it, display painting, that I really think are not worth the amount of money they cost. There's not much that I think is not worth the money. I think most things are worth buying. It's just whether they're things that you'll actually get use out of, right? But these can be expensive. But like this model, I think is 45 or something Australian dollars from Mindworks. It's not that much. And, you know, I've been painting it so far for probably 9 hours, and I'll probably have, I don't know how many more hours to go till it's finished, and then, you know, it'll be an awesome piece of artwork for the cabinet, or who knows, maybe I'll sell it to a collector or something, and I don't know. It definitely doesn't always feel expensive to me now. I do recognize that I'm in a pretty good position where I can say things like that. Not everyone's going to be in the same position where they can you know, not have to stress too much about being able to afford the hobby stuff they want. Bust versus time spent are usually pretty reasonable. To be totally honest, like, I mean, look, I worked for Games Workshop for almost 5 years, and I won't go so far as to say that everything Games Workshop make is worth the amount of money they charge for it, but I actually don't think most Games Workshop products are unreasonably priced. But I used to work for them, so take that with a grain of salt. The entire time I was working for them, I was not paying full price for them, because I was a staff member. But I always have thought, like, I mean, I've collected Warhammer for longer than I've worked for Games Workshop, but I've always thought, like, okay, it'll be X amount of dollars for a unit of dudes or whatever. And the amount of time you put into, like, painting them, and then the amount of time you put into gaming with them, like, it doesn't seem that out of whack to me. But then again, like, some stuff is getting a bit cranked lately. Cost of living crisis definitely hitting Warhammer. There's some pretty crazy costs. Some of the new goblins are really expensive. I looked at the boss on the wolf, because I'm going to buy him soon, and he was $100, I think, 100 Australian, which is not cheap, definitely. But I would paint that as like a competition entry, and that would take me a long time to paint. And so I don't know if I feel like $100 is out of whack for that model. And it's so awesome. But I didn't look at what the other stuff costs, so I can't speak to how expensive or cheap that would have been. I do think some of the, like, single Space Marine characters are getting a bit crazy. Like, it's getting a bit much. Like, I think when I was still there, the new Guard Commissar and the new Guard Captain came out, and they're like $60 each. And, like, that's hefty. I mean, they're super detailed, but, like, this thing that I'm holding was like $40-something, I think, and they were 60. And, like, it's a very different there's very different economics to producing this to producing a Games Workshop model. But, like, just a regular human character for $60 is rough, especially, like, if you're a gamer and you need, like, a couple of them and stuff. Like, Jesus, really adds up. It's feels like it's harder to just, like, see something on the shelf and buy it at a whim when you walk into the GW for just a casual look around. Like, I can't really think of the last time I walked in and just bought something that I just saw on the shelf. Admittedly, I don't really go in that often these days, but I say that, and actually I think the last time I bought something on a whim from a Games Workshop was yesterday. Now that I've said that, because I bought a guard character yesterday when I went into a Games Workshop. So, you know what? Just kind of ignore everything I've been saying. What do I know? But before yesterday, it had been a while. It had been a long time. Alright, I think we're kind of doodling. We're not really doing much right now. The bottom of this hair is really quite difficult. Assembly and cleanup take longer for a bust versus Games Workshop. It really depends, I think, on the bust company. Time stop, BB. This one was like next to no time. Some companies, and admittedly this is one piece, right? So all you had to do was, just clean some mold lines. So there was not a lot to do on him at all. I think GW takes longer, but it depends. Like, if it's a 75mm figure, and you're making a base for it, for a display model, not a bust, right? But the same kind of painting when it's a full figure. I think it can take longer because you've got to do more to make the scene where, Games Workshop model comes on a base ready for you to do. All you got to do is whack some sand on it or whatever. So a bit dependent, but I'd say on average the busts and display models would take quite a bit less for an equivalent, to be totally honest, than GW, because so many pieces, so many pieces you got to glue together for a squad or something. I think I was doing at one point I was doing a few Warhammer commissions, and I would time myself to work out a good price to charge the client. And I think to get a Space Marine proper, clean to a good spec would take 20 to 30 minutes. To get everything fully absolutely spick and span, all the mold lines gone, everything filed nice and smooth. Which, if you're doing a squad of 10 guys, that's a bit over 3 hours to just build the squad. That's a long time, Is that right? 10 times 20 minutes? 200 minutes? Yeah. Mathematics. Cracked open the Hearthkin kill team earlier tonight. Ended up packing them back up. Forgot how small the models are. That is one thing, right? You do forget how small a GW model is compared to one of these things. Look, here we go. We got a Terminator. And a Terminator is not a small model, but compared to our bust, he's pretty little. Where's just a human? Look at this, insight into something I painted a long time ago. It's not finished, obviously, but there's a little. It's got some glossy hair. Needs that varnish on it. One of those, what are they called? Scions of the Flame Warcry guys. She's jeez, look at that scale difference. Tiny, miniature. It's a real miniature. Grab some squigs. They're pretty small. Yeah, I'm keen to paint. I haven't actually painted a Warhammer model to a competition standard in a long time. So I would like to. I'm keen for that experience. Again, just to see what I could do to a Warhammer model and how far I could push it. That'll be fun. I want to go to Golden Demon one day, and I certainly will win a Golden Demon one day. That is the plan. I will set that as a pretty concrete thing that will happen at some stage, but I don't know when. So I got to do some Warhammer painting and make it good at some stage. Or at least, I don't know. We'll see how we go. One day we'll get to Demon and hopefully take home a trophy. Who knows? But I haven't really painted much I've painted one competition Warhammer piece around this time-ish last year, and I feel like my painting skill from this time last year to now is so far, so different that I may as well just say I've never painted a Warhammer model for a competition properly, Right, we're kind of going in circles. How about we do this shadow side ear? I won't actually need to do very much, right? As you can kind of see, in our light side, we got a fair bit of detail, right? And rendering on the face. We're not looking at the hair because the hair's a bit of a mess. I would say here, if I do a little circle on the top of his head, that looks quite nice for hair. And then everything else looks not very good. But his face is, it's quite, I think, pretty good and actually not very far off what I would consider finished-ish for a model like this, which is it's not really a competition model, but a good painted model. Shadow side of his face, we haven't done that much with, right? All we've really done is kind of define some of the volumes. We've done a really basic bitch version of a bounce light from the hair, so you can see these slight highlights. The idea being that, the light's coming in, hitting his hair and then bouncing back onto his face. But we've not gone crazy. And so all we need to do is just, to put some kind of information in this shadow side of his ear. Not a lot, but enough that it doesn't look janky. Time Stop BB. I have been to the Painters Guild in Sydney, so I started attending those meetings in February last year, and I've been to every meeting since. So the guild's been running, I think, since 2022, and I've been attending for the past 12 months, pretty much. And it's definitely made a huge difference to my painting. I would say I was like a casual to good army painter guy, but not like I would not have been able to do anything like this at this time last year. If you're in Sydney, definitely come along. If you message either the Instagram of the Sydney Display Painters Guild page, or message one of the leaders, or you can message me on Instagram if you want, and I can point you in the right direction to those guys. Come along, definitely do it. You know, anyone's welcome. You don't have to have a particular level of skill or anything. You just come along and you know, join in. If someone, I don't know, Seamus or Sean, could one of you guys just whack the Sydney Guild Instagram page in the chat for a time stop here? If you shoot them a DM on Instagram, they'll give you all the info you need to know. Sunday's a bit difficult. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, at the very least, if you message the page, they can put you in the Discord. We've got a Discord group for the Sydney Guild, and you can still participate a little bit, right? Even if you can't make it to the meets. And then there'll be, you know, some local competitions and stuff. You'll still be able to get some info and get some help if you join the Discord as well. So even if you can't come along, there's ways to participate, you know. So yeah. So just going back to what I was saying, we're gonna try and define this ear a little bit and maybe some of this shadow side hair. See how we go. I had about 20 minutes or so until I have to run another break. So let's try and do some more work on that ear before then, shall we? I feel like this has been a bit more of a talkative stream than normal. That's good. Really, that's good. Went to the awards one. Funny with Deno teasing Melbourne Collective. Oh, nice. You did go there? Well, I would have been there. I just might not have met you, unfortunately. I don't know. Maybe we did meet and talk, and I don't know what your name is. If so, I'm sorry. But yeah, Guild's in. That's the painting competition. So that'll be running again, but in August this time instead of in July. So yeah. But I was there at the competition last time. Lurking in the background. Ooh. Paint's getting a little tacky, a little dry. That's annoying. That's okay though. It's always a little hard to know how dark to go with this hair. I've been talking about that a couple times on the stream, but because it's such a high, it would be a high value color, right? Like light yellow, light blonde, like that is a color that under sort of neutral lighting, you know, not super bright light or whatever, it's going to be a high value. And so when it goes into shadow, it's not going to be that dark. And that's like one of those things that I find hard to judge, you know, like if a color, like, because obviously colors have different inherent light values, you know, making sure that you get to the right values for the color when you go into shadow. That's something I find difficult. No wonder your models are so gritty. Grittiness adds character to the model, indeed. Yeah, that's what I mean when I say, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe my house is dry, but it's not. It's pretty humid in Sydney, right? It's always pretty humid in Sydney, and it's always humid in here. have to run the dehumidifier half the time, or the place gets moldy as. Just mold growing everywhere in the closets, windowsills, whatever. And so I don't feel like the palette should dry out so quick, but I don't know. Whatever. It seems to happen. But we do like it, you know, it's always nice to have a nice little spin when you're trying to do like a you know, like a strong directional light. Like sometimes just remind yourself if it's working. We got that light side coming from here, coming from probably around here. So actually, here's like the tip, right? Hold it to the light and we can see, like, you know, these parts of hair are not going to be in shadow, right? If we line up the cast shadow on his face, can you see that? Like cast shadow, hopefully pretty well aligned with his nose poking out. We can see like there's spots of this hair that I'd painted in shadow that shouldn't be shadowed. They would be in light around here and maybe a little bit here. Can you guys see that all right? Yeah. Hopefully. Time stop. Light is tricky as people seem to be almost guessing where environmental light color should be. Yeah, well, see, that's why we want to be, if you want to be realistic with your lighting, you know, try to regularly, like, I'm doing it to the camera, not my eye, so it might be a bit janky, but try and hold the model up to your eye. In this case, I'm using the camera as a substitute for my eye, and see if we've got these strong cast shadows, if they line up correctly. Is that making sense to you guys? Can you see what I'm talking about? Like, they line up, I think, pretty accurately. There's a couple spots in here, like in the inside of this hair, that probably should be a little brighter, but because it folds in and the hair is pretty shiny, the shadow drop off is pretty extreme, so I don't really need to brighten them up too much. Maybe just a little bit here. It doesn't have to be perfect, obviously, right? We're still painting this model with like some artistic license, but if you want your lighting to be realistic, make sure, just do this periodically, you know, hold it up to your eye, make sure your shadows, because light travels in a straight line, right? So if we're holding it with our eye being sort of like the direction of where the light's coming from, or in this case, camera lens, the direction that the light's coming from, you know, straight line like this, it's not going to hit any of the shadows. Hey JC, how you doing? We were just talking about the Sydney Guild to Time Stop BB. JC here is one of the organisers. So trying to get someone else to come along, or maybe join the Discord or something. But yeah, how you doing, man? Been a good weekend for you? All right, let's actually do the painting that I've been talking about doing, which is the ear shadow side. We don't really need to do much, like I mentioned. Just some reddish shadow tones to get some of these folds picked out a little bit. I'm not really going for much of a ambient bounce light, second light source, any of that kind of nonsense. I can't bother with this kind of model. Just finished the marine. Oh, awesome! I'll have to check it out. I'm excited to see it. But yeah, not going for any crazy super lighting on the shadow side. We're literally just gonna put a little bit of information in the ear so that when people look at the shadow side, they don't think it's entirely unpainted. And this is an academic bust, right? We don't need to go crazy. Did you post him, JC? You posted your marine? He's on the internet for all to see. I'll have to have a look when I'm done. Exciting times. He's hit the socials, flooded the discords. Nice. I saw somewhere, I think on the Verco's Discord, and maybe you can confirm, that they said there was going to be an LVO in October. Is that right? Do you know anything about that? Yeah. Do you know anything about that? Yeah, flooded everything. You've done your 35 reposts, I assume. Yeah, so I'm not sure if Vercos are going. Yeah, okay. We'll have to keep an eye on that, because if there's one in October, that's something I could potentially go to. We'll see. 36. Surely not actually 36. That would be funny. But is it actually 36 places that you posted? That's pretty funny if so. No. You need to count them up. But yeah, no, I'll be keen to have a look at it. You'll bring it to the next meetup, I assume, so we can have another good look. Yeah, nice. Awesome. You painting now, or just chilling for the rest of the night? See, when I look at him from his light side, sorry, I'm lining it up for me, not you guys, but it's not much of that ear. It's literally just the top that's in the light. Yeah, nice. Cool. I gotta start the Spira tomorrow. I was gonna start it this week, but things kept getting in the way. So tomorrow will be the proper start date. It's all primed, it's all zenithal, it's all ready to go. So, keen. Sonny Dixon, what got you into doing this? Well, that is a long story. But if you're talking this type of painting, I went to my first ever painting competition, Sonny Dixon, in Australia in January 2024, last year. And I took some Warhammer models that I had painted. So I'd been doing Warhammer painting. So like tabletop gaming painting, if you're not familiar. And I just kind of really love the idea of painting these kinds of display figures, which are just for painting. So I sort of dove in from there. But I had been painting miniatures for a lot longer, but just not this style, just much smaller models. Yeah, thanks, man. So yeah, I've kind of been diving in pretty deep to this kind of display painting over the past 14 months, I guess. I don't know, is that right? But like I said, before then I'd been painting tabletop gaming figures and stuff for longer. Delete EXE, thanks for following. Welcome to the stream. Sorry, I missed that notification. Yeah. Just painting away. So is your Angry Birds ready to go, JC? Or you still got much to prep on it or anything? Or is it pretty much good to start painting? Ah, nice. Alright, about 5 minutes. I'm going to take another break, and then after, run an ad, and then I won't be painting while the ad's running, but I'll run an ad. I'll take a break for a few minutes, walk in circles for a minute or two, and then come back and do some more work on this guy. It was a good cast? Okay, that's good. My Bullsaurus shipped, so I'm feeling good that it'll actually arrive. I think I'm probably going too bright on this here, but I don't know. I'm loving this. I've been wanting to dive into this stuff, but I haven't been brave enough yet. Well, delete EXE, mate. You got to do it. Just do it. Buy your first model. If you're in Australia at all, you can check out SpecMod models. If you're overseas, there's a million different places you can get these kinds of models from. This is from a company called Mindworks. Delete EXE, Mindworks Games. If you look them up, they're an Italian company and they make a lot of figures like this. But, you know, the best way to do it is to pick up a model and give it a go, you know. Yeah. If you're interested in more of the process, I mentioned earlier in the stream, this entire model I've painted on stream, so it's all recorded. I'm going to, at some stage this week, definitely this week, I'll upload all the older VODs. So if you want to watch it from start to finish, you'll be able to, and see the full process or whatever, if that is something that interests you. So you're in Oz, moved to Melbourne last year, so I have to check it out. Well, if you are in Melbourne, you got to hook up with our boy Cragzog Studios there, and go to the Melbourne Figure Painters Collective meetup. And our boy Seamus there, Cragzog, he'll hook you up. He'll get you sorted. He'll help you learn to paint. So if you're in Melbourne, definitely follow the Melbourne Figures Painters Collective Instagram page. I don't know, Seamus, come on, link that in the chat, get it in there. And you know, get going, dive in, man. I think we're getting a touch too red in our shadows here. Couple more minutes and we will take a break. Let's say at 10:30 tonight. All right, Shauno, come on, JC, one of you guys. Let's help out our newfound Melbourne painter. Or I mean, you know, literally, you know, follow that Instagram page and go to one of the meetups. Open to all. Maybe I need to get one of those things that like spams your chat, you know? Oh, delete EXE subscribing at tier 1. Thank you so much for subscribing. I really appreciate it. What a champion. Yeah, I really appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Tomorrow you got to put up an advert for Sydney 3030. That's it. All right. Let's stop here for a second because we're about to take our break. So, look, I'm not going to lie, I feel like I haven't actually done a whole lot this stream so far, but we're going to keep going. I'm not feeling the fatigue just yet where I need to stop, so we'll keep going for a while. But Twitch keeps yelling at me to run a commercial. Oh, and The Evil Fly followed. Thanks for following The Evil Fly. Sorry, I missed the notification, but welcome to the stream. I'll catch you later, Sean, and catch you later, JC. Jesus. Everyone just heading off, but I am not heading off, but I am heading to a break. So we're taking a break. I got to run an ad for a minute or two, but I won't be painting until the ad is over. I just got to stand up, walk around for a bit so that my back does not explode. All right, guys, I'll be back in a few minutes. Won't be long. See you soon. All right, back again. How are we going? Time stop. Thanks for following. Yeah, SpecMod, that is run by one of the guys who comes to the Sydney Guild meetups. So he, like, you know, pretty much every, with the one exception, pretty much every brand of display models like this is based, not in Australia. So he imports a ton of models and sells them to us, and we don't have to get cooked on shipping costs for a lot of stuff. Another one to look at is Veiled Lamp. They're just a brand that is Australian. So that's run by by one guy who is a member of the Sydney Guild meetups. Veiledlamp.com. If you check them out, he hand sculpts the models on there. He's got plenty of cool models to check out. If you're looking at SpecMod, Stonebid. So Stonebid also run by one of the guys who comes to the Sydney Display Painters Guild, but he's taken time off from running the website. But basically every one of those brands that Stonebid was getting in, SpecMod will get in as well. And the guy who runs it, if you message him on Instagram, if you're after something in particular, he'll get him in for you and stuff. If he's out of stock or whatever, you just got to reach out to him. He's a nice guy. He's always pretty willing to get things in for people. But yeah, obviously Stonebid, he's been a bit out of commission for a while. He and his wife had a kid, and so they've not really had the time to run the website as much. But if you're looking for some cool models to start this, this one's from Mindworks Games. I think Jetto on SpecMod has a few of their models. Black Crow and Hera are good brands to look at. Veiled Lamp, like I mentioned as well. If you want to buy Australian sculpted miniatures. But yeah, have a bit of a look through the site. Unfortunately, the one thing about SpecMod, it's not the easiest website to navigate. Best way to do it is try and filter by the brand and see if you find any models you like. All right, so back to actually doing something on the model. So what are we thinking? Maybe what I'll try and do is, I don't know why I said that like I had a plan. I mean, I'm just going to literally keep doing what I was doing. Definitely do that delete exe. Hit up the Melbourne Figure Painters Collective Instagram page to join the Discord, and time stop if you're in Sydney. Hit up the Sydney Display Painters Guild to join the Discord. Just join in and at least get connecting to the people in the city for painting, and even if you can't make it along to the meetings, you can at least start getting to know people, and you can just lurk in the Discord and see the models that people are posting. So yeah, good times, folks, good times. I think our shadow tone here is getting a bit too pink, so let us get some more brown in here. A little more brown. Oh, this is too brown. Let's get some more of this. Now it's a bit too grey. So a little bit of red, maybe not that much. Warm the shadows. Let's warm the shadows. That looks better. Sorry if this is hard to see on the palette. I mean, I know the light is kind of, perpendicular to the palette, so it's just a bunch of light on some of it, but unfortunately this is kind of where I keep my palette in relation to where I hold the model. So I don't know, it's this or nothing, guys, but this is a greyish brown color. Hopefully most of the palette is pretty visible for you guys, if that matters to you to see the palette. I mean, you'll see the color when I put it on the model, I guess. Maybe some of this violet, that might look nice on the ear. I don't know about you guys, but I tend to be like I tend to just put the color on the model to work out if it's going to look good or not, you know. I used to get a bit fussy about like, oh, is the color going to look right? Is it going to look wrong? Like, and then you're spending all this time stressing. I don't know, maybe this is just me. And then I just now have this sort of more of an approach where I just start putting the color on the model, see if it looks good, and then, you know, you tweak it. I don't know if that makes much sense. And ultimately, like, the color, I don't know, it doesn't matter that much, which is kind of a silly thing to say, but the color you can change much more easily than the value, I think. I don't know. Am I wrong in that? I feel like if I'm getting the light and dark right, then I can always change the color later. By just glazing it or something like that. I don't know. Kind of makes sense. I feel like sometimes, like, there'll be like, this happens a lot as I've been trying to like dive more deeply into painting like this, display painting models, rather than like gaming. I find gaming painting tends to be very craft forward, right? Like it's like following a set of instructions, and it's, you know, it's very craft focused, where painting it like this is a bit more like art forward, I guess, you know, so maybe has a little bit more in common than like traditional art, I guess, you know. And look, that varies from painter to painter, I think. I think there's plenty of really incredible painters that paint these kinds of models and do them like really beautifully and artistically and everything, and like it's surprising how sort of craft focused they are. And then the same way, there's like plenty of traditional artists who you think like are just kind of entering some kind of, you know, artistic hypertrance, but actually they have like some super scientific approach to their painting. So you know, it's going to vary on person to person. But you know, the more I kind of try and study and learn about like traditional painting approaches to things versus like the miniature painting approach thing, because if you come into the painting like this through painting tabletop gaming models, which I think, you know, the majority of people do, there's a lot of like just sort of like really super basic stuff that you just don't learn. You're never exposed to it because you're just kind of given this instruction manual of steps to learn without really thinking very deeply about them, if that makes sense to you guys. I don't really know how I could analogize this, but you know, I don't know, maybe in the way you put together a Lego set of a building, you know, you're just learning where to place all the bricks, but you're not learning how to like construct the architecture of that building in Lego, right? It's kind of similar to that in my mind, right? We like that, you know, go from talking about one type of toy to another one. It's the only way my mind can clearly function. But you know, sometimes I get like exposed to some ultra basic fact from traditional art, and I think like, Jesus Christ, how did I not know about this before? And it's like something that you learn in like baby's first art class, and then like things start clicking together for you a little bit more. I don't know, does that happen much to anyone else out there? I feel like this happened a lot to me over the past few months. And I think that's just because I've been talking about like getting the values right being kind of more important than getting the color right? Like that seems to be something that is, second nature in traditional art. Like it's not even something that you would necessarily have to think about. Like they kind of intuitively know that is the thing. You gotta know. Like it's more important to get the light and darks on a piece in the right spot than it is to get the color in the right spot. Because if the values look wrong, then it doesn't matter how good the color looks. It's the thing's gonna look wrong. Yeah, I don't know. That making sense to anyone out there? Anyone out there following along? It's alright if not. Kind of talking it through to myself as well. Lanky Cheese 87. Thanks for following. Welcome to the stream. Lanky Cheese. Is that like you're a fan of like a particularly long, bigger stringer or something? Is that how you got your username? Lanky Cheese. I'm going to assume so. So if you're just joining in, you're just trolling Gangly. Fair enough. And cheesy. Oh, that's alright. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming. Thanks for following. Much appreciated. I'm glad you like it. There is actually a surprising amount of tall people in the hobby, hey? And you are definitely not one of them, Seamus. You're a tiny little baby. But I mean, I'm considered tall, I guess, in like normal life. I'm 6'1", but like Jesus, it's a bunch of giants in miniature painting in Australia. Everyone's huge, so maybe that means Lanky Cheese, you're an amazing painter, or if you're not yet, maybe you will be soon, because height seems to be a big part of it. Not many giants winning best of show. Wow. Well. What do I count as? I'm not a giant, I guess. I'm just like a normal tall guy. I'm rounder. Broader. I'm more, chunky. I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I mean. I wish edge highlighting is your most advanced technique. Hey, edge highlighting, the thing about it is, it's an exercise in misery, isn't it? It's just painful. Giant adjacent. Definitely check it out and reach out when you're ready to take the plunge. Good stuff, man. Lanky Cheese, I assume you're maybe like a tabletop painter more than a display painter or something like a gaming model guy. That's fair enough. We all paint our gaming models as well, or maybe you don't. Maybe you paint models like these, but you just do lots of edge highlighting. I don't know. What's going on? Yeah, this game, skirmish games. Can't filter availability. Yes, time stop. It's very annoying. But the guy who runs it is a really nice guy, and he's very good service. Like, so you order something, it'll get there fast. And, he's a local part of the painting scene. Even if he is not super tech savvy, to make the easiest to use website. But the models will definitely get to you fast. Yeah, fair enough. Lanky Cheese, what skirmish games are you into? Do you like Warcry? That's my favourite skirmish game. But no one ever really seems to play it. Everyone's all like, Kill Team, or Marvel Crisis Protocol, or Shatterpoint, or whatever. But Warcry is the best game. Everyone loves Warcry. It's not true, but I love Warcry. It's so much fun. I say that. I have played one game of it, I think, in the past probably year and a half, but I know it's a good game. It's very fun, and it has, in my opinion, the best models of any skirmish game as well. Yeah, both Warcry and Kill Team, depending on who you're playing with. Yep, fair enough. That is surely the case with every type of game, right? You got to play it with cool people, otherwise it's not fun. So, because we got this light hitting the top of the ear, we would get some kind of crazy refraction. What's it called? What's the word I'm looking for, guys? Subsurface scattering. Like in this ear fold, it would be like red eyes, wouldn't it? Spirit Mirror. Yeah, they are limited time stop. Unfortunately, spec mod usually will get a few extras of whatever Spiro model comes out and then put them up for sale. But then once they sell out, they're gone. So he usually buys like sort of 3 or 4 spares of each release and then sells them. But he doesn't constantly restock them. It's just unfortunately, like you say, there's no way to filter things that aren't out of stock, and he doesn't take things off the website when they are sold out. So, as we are establishing, it's not the easiest website to get your head around, but like I said, he'll always, he has a good range, and he always gets stuff to you fast. You just got to be able to browse through the website and look for stuff properly. If you are on Instagram at all, he's got an Instagram page, and you can just message him direct. It's just one guy, and he'll answer questions for you as well. So, but the Spiras, he literally will usually get like 3 or 4 extras and sell them, and then after that, obviously, you can't get any more in. So. But yeah, like I said, he doesn't take them off the website, annoyingly. So, a lot of red. I don't know about this shadow side here. It's looking a bit janky. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll get a little more of this red on the back. Not really sure. What I'm doing with these. I still feel like painting the shadow side of skin tones is not a particular strength of mine, which is unfortunate because I've been painting a lot of cast shadows, so I've been painting a lot of skin in shadow. Luckily, this model does not have a lot of it, but we all got different things that we need to learn, don't we? And for me, I think the shadow skin tones definitely not a huge strength of mine. I don't think this guy's looking bad by any stretch, but we all got something we need to work on. I hope you're all enjoying my wisdoms tonight. Ken Doom 3, thanks for following. Ken Doom. Appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for checking me out, checking out the painting. What's going on now? Getting some kind of textual communication. Yeah, the Spiras do tend to get snapped up pretty quick. Although, if you're on the ball, I actually think it's not that hard to get them from Juddo, to be totally honest. got Alley Cat 2024. Thanks for following. Appreciate it. I'm glad you found your way to the stream. Welcome, welcome. We're trying to work out some of these shadow tones. To be honest, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I feel like, you know, maybe you guys can have a look at like the photo of this model from the start of the session. It's on my Instagram story and it looks basically the same. I've been painting for 2 hours and nothing's really happened. But sometimes that's how it goes. Sometimes that's how it goes. Sometimes we make a ton of progress in a session. Sometimes we make not very much. And I think this is one of those days where we're on the not much side of the equation rather than the lots of progress side of the equation. I found like, you know, I'm sure this is the case with most people, so I shouldn't say it like it's something that happens to me, but with a lot of these display models, you know, because I still feel like I lack a lot of experience with them. Like I find the early stages really easy, like getting the initial sketch down, like maybe getting the lighting scheme down, right? We got the lighting scheme down on the model. But then like when it comes to like filling in all the rest of the gaps of the model, like Jesus, that's the stuff where I start to struggle. But, you know, we got to struggle to get better. The Hinasia, thanks for following as well. Hinasia, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. J Divers, I'm on the home page right now, and good evening from Tokyo. Well, J Divers, thanks for joining in. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Welcome from Tokyo. Okay, good. I'm glad. I don't know. Everyone's got crazy names on the internet, so hopefully that was all right. Is it what time is it in Japan right now? Is it late? Is it early? I don't know. Surely it's not that far removed from the time in Australia. It must be pretty similar, right? It's almost 11 at night in Australia right now. What is it in Japan? I assume it's like, I don't know, also night, but yeah, not that far off. Yeah, almost 9 o'clock. Fair enough. Thought so. Must have been something similar. All right. I think we're just going to have to say we're okay with these ears for the most part. I don't like doing that though. You know, I don't like saying something's good enough. We don't want to do that, do we? Let's do a bit more on this shadow side here. As soon as I said it, I regretted it. Get a bit more red, you know? The shadow in these skin folds, especially in an ear, they'd be super saturated, wouldn't they? Especially up here where like the light would be coming through and whatever. Sorry if my head's blocking or anything. It's been, I think, a pretty good stream so far, to be honest, actually. I feel like we've got a few new people joining, which is nice. Trying to get, you know, that effect of the, not super intensely, but a little bit of that light coming through the skin in the ear, you know what I mean? Not a huge amount, because I don't really know what I'm doing here, but a little bit. the idea of these, like, you might think it looks a little weird from below, but no one looks at the model from below. They look at it from the front. So we just want to make sure that from the front, like, we've just got little punches of like super saturated color in some of these shadows, because when in folds of skin, you can see it in my hand, right? You see how, like, in my hand, like, these folds are super saturated, like here on the tips in between my fingers here. Look at that. Look how red it gets in the shadow there between my two fingers. Crazy. Look how red it is. I don't know. Maybe that wasn't super visible on your monitors or whatever. But yeah, in folds, the skin tends to get really reddish, doesn't it? So we want to get some of that effect in the skin folds. And this guy, as we have established earlier in the stream, has some crazy giant ear holes. So we want them pretty red. All right. I think that's better. How's he look from the front? What do we think? All right. Does that look all right to you guys? Are we in focus? We are. I don't know. I'm touching the camera. Is the camera looking all right, actually? Sometimes my camera goes a bit crazy, but it's looking good so far. Oh, sorry. So yeah, we got some of those little hints of red in all those ear folds. I think that's looking pretty good. I actually think we might need a redden. Oh, sorry. I was just completely off camera then. I think I might need to redden the other ear a bit more. To be honest, I think this ear is too red compared to the other one. So I'm liking the way it looks. So rather than unredding this one, I'll redden the other one. Right. We're really getting somewhere now. I'm feeling good again. I was feeling a bit down before about how little progress we were making, but it comes and goes. Comes and goes. Well, this looks atrocious. Jesus. On the other side here, look at this. Like, you see that line from the light to the dark? That looks disgusting. Come on, Alexi. We can do better than that. Sometimes I'm not entirely sure what color I'm mixing, but I think it's ended up okay. I think maybe I should actually make the back of this ear redder, because like the other one, like the light coming through, the skin is so thin, right, that you get that crazy red light like I was talking about before. I think we would have more of it coming through, and that'll like feather out that super harsh line of light to shadow that looked really bad on the back of the ear here. Again, like I mentioned before, sometimes there's going to be angles of the model that aren't going to look amazing. That's okay. There's a mold line here under his ear. Can you guys see that? It doesn't look good. But I don't know if I'm bothered enough to fix it properly with a knife. So the skin's very pink here at the back. Maybe it's too pink and not red enough. Maybe I'll try and like super water down, glaze a bit of red over the top. See if that kind of gives me more what I'm looking for. And for what it's worth, it's just really procrastination more than anything, because no one's really looking at the model here. But I like to, this is finding spots like this on the model that even if they're not looking at, where you can get some kind of effect going, like sometimes that's good practice. And this is an academic bust, right? So academic bust, if you're not familiar with the term, is a bust that has no arms, so it's just head and shoulders. And they're usually what you will learn on, I don't know if that's why they're called academic busts. I just heard the term from other people. But it's a bust with just head and shoulders, no hands, no arms. And a full-size bust will usually cut off at the waistline, so they'll go a little lower than this as well. And because we're trying to learn with this model, find spots, even if they're not going to be super visible later on, to practice things. That's the idea, right? So let's get some thin red, and we'll do a bit of a glaze. Like these Chimera colors, because they're so intense, they can sometimes be hard to get a subtle glaze going. Like, did you see how thin I was watering that paint? But look how strong it still is. Like, Jesus, it's very strong. So, we need to be quite careful how we use it, even when it's like ultra thin. I don't know if you can see this little spot I'm using on the palette here. Like, it's just water basically. And again, like, we look at it, that's better. Nice and subtle. So we're just going to glaze in a little more red onto the ear here. Ooh, probably went a little heavy, but we'll see how it dries. Maybe we'll glaze the other ear as well a little, just a little bit. How are we doing for time? What is it? 11:07. We can keep going for a while. I reckon. When do I have to break? 20 minutes. Okay. We'll see how we go. I would like to feel like I've made more progress on the model as a whole before wrapping things up, but I can feel myself starting to flag a little bit, so I don't think I'll be going for a crazy amount longer, but a little bit longer yet at least. So just using that red to get some more subtle redness into the ears. All right. I don't know if that made much of a difference, but I feel better about it. Ooh. That's looking good. That's looking pretty good, right? Like the light on the ears, that's looking decent. Do we think? Yeah? I think so. So now I think I'm going to have to strengthen this highlight here on the right side of his hair, because otherwise, see right now it looks a bit off. So when I hold it up to the light, like when we get the light lined up just right, to be honest, this highlight here, when we look at it from the right side, like when we angle it the way the light is, it's actually probably quite a bit less of this would be in light, but I want a bit more in light, just so that the effect kind of is a bit more visible. What's going on? Valerios18, thanks for following. I appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. We reached our followers goal of 110. Thanks everyone. I appreciate it. Always appreciate new people joining in, having a look at the stream. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you like the model. So, as I was saying, we lengthen the highlight of his left ear a little bit, just for the sake of making it look cooler from our dominant viewing angle, which is, you know, pretty much straight down the barrel. And so right now, I think this part of his hair, just on his left, oh, sorry, it's drifting out of frame a bit. Just on his left is probably not bright enough. I think it's a bit too dark, and so it's kind of messing with our lighting situation just a little bit. So let's just brighten it up a tiny bit. Probably not. It's probably too bright, actually. Back and forth. Lots of back and forth. One of the things I learned from a much better painter than me, a friend of mine, Jordan, is like this concept of like you're sort of zigzagging the lights and darks on the river. Like sometimes it ends up too bright, sometimes it ends up too dark. You zigzag down. It's not a straight line to the goal. You know what I mean? It's a back and forth, and then you dial it in, and eventually it ends up in the right spot. How do you decide from which angle the light will come? Does it depend on the character looks or some other way? To be honest, it's a bit of the sculpt, right? So part of it is you got to bear in mind what the model physically looks like, Valerios. So obviously that's a big part of it. But also part of it is just what, you know, are you trying to tell a particular story or capture a particular vibe? So with him, I liked that he had this like sort of line of hair in front of his right eye, and this right brow is sort of frowning a little more than the left brow. And so to me that looked kind of like he might be frowning like one eye a little bit more into the light. And so that was part of it. And then when I was taking references, so I would take photo references of the model before I start painting it, with the light shining at it from different directions. So I just hold my phone torch up to it. So like I literally like will get my phone and shine it on the model with the torch on. Here, let's see. I'll turn my light off, see if you guys can see very much. So, you know, I'll do stuff like this. I'll just shine the torch on the model in different directions. And while I was doing that, darkness, I found like, oh, sorry, I'm going to try and see if this is super particularly visible to you guys. Found this angle sort of roughly here-ish, you know, looked quite cool. And so I thought, that's how I'm going to do it. And so that's the idea. Like what I'll do is I'll spend time with the light. Turns out the character looks like the crow. It does a bit, doesn't it? He's got such an angular face, hey. But yeah, so when I'm planning the model, like before I start painting at all, I'll shine the light on the model from lots of different directions, and then I will I'll choose the direction the light's going to come from. I'll take a photo of it with the lighting hitting it. I can bring that photo up for you guys if you give me a few minutes. And then I use that as a reference while I'm painting. So on my computer screen, I have the reference photos up that I can refer to if I need to. Evil Fly, thank you very much. I appreciate the comment. Let me bring up a photo for you guys. 1 second. No. Jesus, this is what we call top-notch streaming. Don't you love it, guys? I'm very professional. Sorry to say, I'm still pretty shit at Twitch. So, look at this. Wait for it. There we go. So, that's my reference photo. And here's my little guy, right? We zoom out a little bit of the photo. You can see I took a photo of him with the lighting, you know, situation all lit. And then I have that to refer to whilst I'm painting. And so that's what I'm going for, right? As we can see, We got the light, little triangle of light in his corner of his eye. Can you see that at all? Is that visible? Yeah, triangle of light here. We got the little bit of light in the ear. The cast shadow on the hair and chin and stuff, don't worry about that, we'll put that in later. And same with down here, like we're kind of gesturing at the shadows here, just with the initial sketch. But right now, like the body basically has not been touched very much. It's mostly been the face we've been working on. And so obviously as you're painting, you're not going to be able to capture this photo exactly, and you want to take a bit of, artistic license and everything. Like if you see mine, like in our reference photo, there's basically no light on this eye at all. And the light is this weird kind of triangle on his other eye. And so I didn't do that. I tried to have a little bit of light on his eye here so that I could get the eyelid in light rather than just entirely in shadow. And that also lets me then have the irises of his eyes brighter so that I can get more color, because if I tried to do it exactly like this, then the eye would be so dark, and it's a face. The entire model is about the face, so we want the eyes to be a big part of it. So yeah, we take the reference, we try and paint it, and so yeah, I'll definitely spend like a decent amount of time in the planning stage of a project, trying to work out where I really like the light, what direction I like it coming from. I might not always choose to do something so dramatic. This is quite dramatic, isn't it? And it's got a strong hard line shadow, like a hard cast shadow. We don't always do like a super hard shadow like this. I have been doing a lot of them lately just because I've been finding them enjoyable to paint, but more often than not, I'm not necessarily doing stuff like that. So hopefully that answers some questions and gives you guys a good idea. I think for me, like trying to paint light like this is just without the reference is not in my skill set yet. You'd have to, better painters than me can do it, really well. If you want to see someone, significantly better than I am, be able to just kind of pluck these kind of lighting situations out of their brain. Check out Eric Swinson's stream, or his YouTube channel, or his Instagram, or whatever. But me, I need the references. I'm not quite there yet in terms of being able to just do this from my brain. So yeah. Also, I think having the reference kind of helps you if you're going for quite a realistic model. Because literally it's a sculpture, right? So if we want the lighting to be realistic, we can just light the sculpt and then paint it that way, right? And then it will hopefully look quite realistic. Wonderface42, thanks for following. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're enjoying it. And so yeah, if you're doing quite a stylized, not necessarily like a realistic lighting effects, then just start painting the model. Or if you're doing global lighting, right, where it's like that, the lighting's more ambient and maybe it's not as directional, just start painting. But if you're just sort of earlier days in your painting of this kind of model and you want to do this kind of dramatic shadows or whatever, like take some photos of the model before you start painting it. That will help you out a lot. Then you don't have to start wondering, oh, is this bit going to be shadow? Is this bit going to be light? Is this bit going to be mid-tone? Whatever. You just look at the photo. It will tell you what to do. And then, as you do it more, then you start finding where the spots in the model are that you want to take a bit of license with, because we aren't just trying to be a photograph, right? We're trying to create a piece of artwork. So we want to then use the light on the model to be expressive in some way, right? I guess. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Your work is awesome. Greetings from Kyiv. Hey, I'm glad you like it. Welcome from Kiev. Is that how you pronounce it? Kiev? Kiev? I hope so. Welcome to the stream, Wonderface. I'm glad you're enjoying it. So we're trying to lighten this side of the hair. Little bit. There's a little bit of very good pronunciation. Okay, thanks. I'm glad. Okay, I'm glad you got something out of that evil fly. So there's just a little bit of dust in his hair up here. I'll try and slice off. Doesn't matter if we get rid of the paint, we'll just paint back over it. Alright. Couple other tips, I guess. If you want to get really like hard cast shadows like on the reference I showed you, that was the torch on my mobile phone. So because it has, I think, usually only one LED coming out of the phone torch, it casts a really hard shadow. The physical size of the lamp or the light bulb that you use to light the model will impact how like sort of soft or hard the shadows are when you take your reference photo. So I use my camera, the one I'm filming this with, the one I'm streaming with, to take photos of my models and obviously to stream. And then I had my mobile phone with the torch on, just sitting on a tripod, aiming at the model to take the photo. I don't know if I fixed up the hair very much. It's still a bit janky. I think I might need to sand it back a bit or something. Maybe I'll worry about that next time. Or like, maybe I'll do that off stream. So that I can keep painting for now. So I think we get a little bit of a sort of, let's get some white going on here. A little bit of a pretty bright specular highlight here in the fringy bit. Let's just have a bit of a look. Just here. Here. And then maybe again, yeah, I don't know if I've progressed a ton this stream, guys. I mean, I don't know if many of you have been here from the start, but it hasn't been the most super fast progress this evening, unfortunately. And we're kind of rounding into when I will have to call it a night. So maybe we'll give it, I don't know, another 10-15 minutes, and then we'll probably call it for the night. What we'll try and do is get it to a point where like we can see maybe a touch more progress. So start working a little more bold strokes, I guess, with the brush. Going too light. We don't want to go too light on this shadow side of his hair. Let's darken that a bit again. We'll come back to that later. Fix this up. Let's see. I think we probably would actually be a little brighter here. I think if our lights come in here, let's say just in this sort of top corner, I think we'd go a little brighter. drop off a bit more here. Hair still something, like a lot of other parts of the model, that, you know, I'm finding I need to practice more with. You know, it's all a learning experience. Still have a long way to go. Long way to go. We go a little brighter here on this bit. So one of the things to do as well, just going back to the reference photos, is take the reference photo, if you're going to light it, before you prime the model, because most primers are pretty shiny and they won't, and also they're a color, right? So that photo I showed you before was before the model was sprayed. But then take another one after you spray the model, and try and set up the lighting in the same way, because the initial photo you take, the surface of the model is going to be very matte, so it's not going to have any really bright extreme reflections on it. But then the second photo you take will be more shiny, and that'll show you some like sort of specular reflections, little bright points of light, and that can be really helpful if you're painting non-metallic metal on the model for some spots to tell you where to place your highlights and shadows. So another little tip for anyone who wants to go and take some reference photos: do one before you prime the model, and then do another one after you prime the model. Try and get them lit as close to the exact same angles and situation as possible, so that they all line up together. You know, I think we are looking all right. The hair, it's getting there. Like, it's not looking what I would call good, but it is looking all right. It still has a long way to go. I really find hair, especially this, like, the volumes are quite soft, which is good because then we can paint in the hair texture, but I don't know. I can't be bothered. But also just painting this kind of blonde hair is some like a particular color scheme I'm finding a bit tricky. So I don't know what it is. It's just defeating me in some spots, I think. But it'll get there. Like, by the time the model's done, it will look good. It's just, we're in a tricky spot. I find, like, what tends to happen sometimes with models, if there's particular spots I'm really struggling with, like, sometimes I just need to work away at them for like a long time. And this hair just might be that. Like I might just need to be really slow and methodical and like just do really boring work, just making no progress, but then eventually it will start to click. I just need to like sort of explore it with paint on the model, and then it'll come together eventually. And I have a feeling like that's kind of what's going to happen with this hair, is that you know, it's going to have lots of painting sessions with very little progress, and then one time I'm going to be painting it and it's just going to fall into place. Well, at least I hope so. So it's certainly being difficult now. Alright, so I'm going to leave the hair there. What I might do, just while I have a few minutes left, maybe 5 minutes or so left. I might try and mix up a little bit of green. Oh, might need some more blue on the palette. And then just try and get a little bit more going on the chest cloth before I call it quits for tonight. So this is Phthalo Blue from Chimera, this one, and just Warm Yellow, also from Chimera, that I'll use to make a bit of green. And then a little bit of white. Probably a bit too green. No, that's nice actually. It's a nice color. Some dark. Sorry, I should put the model in the shot so you can actually look at something. Bit more white in the green. Ooh, maybe that's too much white. You want it pretty sort of foresty green, I guess. But all I'm going to try and do is just have the sort of the cast shadow from the face visible on the cloth. So it's not going to be a ton of work on the green that I'm going to do today. Just a tiny bit. Just so that the shadow is visible on the chest. So right now it's not particularly visible. And that'll just give us some more information on the model. To guide our viewer. And also to guide me when I keep painting next time. As we come to the end. So as I'm slowly getting to the end as well, if you've got any last questions or anything for me before I say goodbye, now is the time to ask. Thank you so much to everyone for joining tonight. It's been a good stream, I think. Thanks to the new followers and the couple new subscribers. Really appreciate it. Always good to have new people joining us here on the stream, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed watching me paint away slowly today. A couple minutes to go. And then now let's get a little more shadow just in the inside of this hair. A little darker, I think. Oh, definitely getting a bit tired now. That's all right, we're coming to an end. Coming to an end. I'm definitely going to end up taking a photo of this guy and being like, yeah, geez, you spent 3 hours doing basically nothing. No, I think, you know, if anything, at least the ears, you know, mostly got done. So that's good. Toxic Abyss. Thanks for following. Welcome to the stream, even though you're coming in right at the tail end as I'm about to finish. Welcome anyway. Alright, so all I tried to do just then was put the shadow in here, right? So now hopefully we've got just a little more shadow info on his chest as well, so that'll help reinforce the lighting situation, just for us while we're looking at the model, while we're still painting away. We've still got a fair while to go. Toxic Abyss, all good. You made this very interesting. Also a fellow Aussie. Absolutely. Indeed, a fellow Australian. Glad to see a fellow Australian in the chat as well. Although half of us are, I assume. So yeah, basically, I think decent progress. I think the overall look is definitely there, right? Like on his face. We are going to need to fix this hair, right? It's a bit of a train wreck in a few spots. Definitely here. Let's just, let's not worry too much. But it doesn't look good. That's all right. We will make it look good by the end, guys. That is what we do with the paint. We try to make the model look good. Oh, I didn't like that though. So next time I stream, I don't know when I will stream this guy again. It will. I'm always doing Sunday, 8 p.m. So this time next week for sure. I'll try and do something in between then and now on this model. I don't know though, because I'm starting a new painting project for a competition tomorrow, and I won't really be doing that on stream because I need to be a bit more comfy. Which I can't really do painting on the stream, but I'll try and do little bits of it on stream, and I'll at least bring it on to show you guys from time to time. But if you want to watch more, just follow me on Instagram. I'm Alexi K Paints on Instagram. The link's in my bio or whatever, my page here on Twitch. And I'll post there when I'm going to go live, or you'll get notifications or whatever if you follow the page, you follow the stream. And then have a little think about, in between, what I'll do is I'll take some photos of this now, and in between sort of now and the next time I'm painting, I will try to have had a good think about like what I'm going to do next, like try and plan the next steps or whatever on the piece. All right, guys, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Let us be back at the very least this time next week, if not through the week. And thanks again to everyone for joining me here on Twitch. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.